On a sunny day in 1943, a flotilla of ships, some of them armed, was sailing south off the coast of Africa. It was a Sunday, and the ship's crews had time to relax and enjoy the warm weather, blissfully unaware that they were sailing into the deadly arms of a U-boat wolf pack. Leading this flotilla of ships was a cable ship. Today, we look at the cable ship Lady Denison-Pender. In 1920, the Fairfield Shipbuilding and Engineering Company of Glasgow completed their latest ship for the Eastern Telegraph Company. The Lady Denison-Pender was built as a cable repair ship. Triple expansion steam engines, twin screws, 3 cable tanks, and 1,984 gross registered tons, the Lady Denison-Pender was 269 feet in length, or about 82 meters, with a beam of 38 feet, 11.5 meters, and a draft exceeding 23 feet, or 7 meters. She had clean, elegant lines. The new cable ship was based in Aden, and her sphere of work encompassed the submarine cables of the Indian Ocean. In 1929, she, along with many cable ships in the Eastern Telegraph Company fleet, was transferred into the fleet of the newly formed Imperial and International Communications Limited, later to be called Cable and Wireless. In 1938, the Lady Denison-Pender was moved to the West Indies, and with a crew of St. Helena men, she worked at repairing cables up until the outbreak of the Second World War, when, all of a sudden, the repairing of cables became decidedly more hazardous. The Lady Denison-Pender returned to Aden in 1940, but her duties were interrupted on the 11th of June by the Italian Air Force, who paid the skies over Aden a very unwelcome visit. The cable repair ship escaped damage, and with more raids on Aden being made, she was transferred to the Atlantic. She cut the French cables between Brest and Dakar, diverted the Malaga-Azores cable, and laid the 1943 Gibraltar-Madeira cable. It was after this that the Lady Denison-Pender joined the Convoy RS-3, but we will come to that shortly. Summarizing the rest of her career, the Lady Denison-Pender went to work off the west coast of Africa and the eastern coast of South America. She passed into the Pacific and then went back through the Panama Canal to operate in the West Indies and off the coast of Brazil. Post-war, the Lady Denison-Pender returned to Aden. As can be expected from a ship with such a long history of service, the Lady Denison-Pender underwent a number of refits over the years. Here we see the cable ship leaving just after such a refit. She is clearly running light, with her cable tanks empty, and her gangway door is open, which suggests the harbour pilot is either about to disembark or already has. In the mid-1950s, the Lady Denison-Pender returned to the River Thames for the first time in over 30 years. She loaded a special type of cable for the renewal of the Maldonado Montevideo No. 3 cable. Whilst loading cable in Greenwich, the cable ship had visitors. Here we see a party from Cable and Wireless Head Office with the ship's officers. Second Officer Mr. L.R. Mackay, Mr. R.W. Oblath of the Staff Department, Mr. J.A. Small, Engineer-in-Chief, Mr. E.B. Dillow, Deputy Engineer-in-Chief, Captain C.C. Muckleston, Mr. A.T. Stoke, Assistant Staff Manager, Mr. H.V. Higgett, Contracts Manager, Mr. E. Mockett, Staff Manager, and Third Officer Mr. D. Clark. By the late 1950s, the ship was based in the West Indies once more, and working off the coast of Brazil. But by the early 1960s, the Lady Denison-Pender was past her prime, and in 1963 she arrived at Antwerp for breaking up. But it is to the Second World War and her close escape as convoy commander to Convoy RS-3 that we now turn. In late March 1943, having worked on the Gibraltar Madeira cable, the Lady Denison-Pender set course for Freetown, Sierra Leone. She sailed in a convoy, RS-3, as its commodore, and so leading the convoy. The convoy was protected by 2 corvettes and 2 armed trawlers. According to the Admiralty War Diaries, these escorts were HMS Burdock, a Flower-class corvette like HMS Piketty shown here, and HMS Bridgewater, the lead ship of the Bridgewater-class sloops. The tugs were the Empire Dennis and the Empire Ace. The Burdock, incidentally, was scrapped in hail after the war. The voyage seemed destined to be an uneventful one, but off the coast of Spanish Sahara, at position 25 degrees 35 minutes north, 15 degrees 43 minutes west, one of the convoy ships, the 5,400-ton Lagosian, was suddenly torpedoed. The convoy had sailed straight into the U-boat Wolfpack Zeebroeder, made up of 7 U-boats: the U-67, the U-123, the U-159, the U-167, the U-172, the U-513, and the U-515, and now the convoy was being stalked. It was no accident they encountered this particular wolfpack. The Zeebroeder had been warned of the convoy and had formed a patrol line. They knew of the 3 merchantmen, they knew of the tugs, and they knew of the valuable cable layer ship. First blood had gone to the U-167 under the command of Kurt Stoom. The 275-ton tug Empire Dennis hurried to rescue the 39 survivors of the Lagosian, and the convoy escorts went to work, hunting for the U-boats whilst the convoy hurried on, zigging and zagging. 2 hours later, with the escort some 7 miles astern, the 5,300-ton Silver Line-owned Silver Beach was hit by the U-159 under Helmut Witt, and the cargo of ammunition and explosives exploded, killing 59 of its 67 crew, including its master, Thomas George Heim. The explosion blasted debris high into the sky, and some of it fell on the Lady Denison-Pender. The commander of the Bridgewater at first believed the convoy had run into a minefield, as the water depth was only 120 fathoms. The afternoon saw the return of the escorts and a third attack, but this time the escorts spotted a U-boat's periscope. A torpedo passed under the Lady Denison-Pender's stern, and the Bridgewater and the Burdock launched depth charge after depth charge. There was a pause, but that night the U-172 under Karl Emmermann struck, and the Belgian ship Monde reported she had been hit by a torpedo and was on fire. The Burdock stood by, but by morning light there was no sign of the Monde, not even wreckage. By now only the Lady Denison-Pender and 2 tugs were left, and they increased speed. The cable ship was still afloat, and her commander was determined to keep her that way, so what was left of Convoy RS-3 hurried to Bathurst, arriving on Wednesday, the 31st of March, having survived a close call. We should not forget the actions of the cable ships and the courage of their crews. the epic journey of the Cable Enterprise 1 to the far side of the world, the close calls, even with a minefield, of the Mirror, and the tragic loss of the Retriever. These ships worked on as war raged around them, cutting, laying, and repairing cables in dangerous waters, often without escorts, and so we salute their fearless devotion to duty in a time of global war.